So tell me why Jesus was made Lord of the Sabbath.
You tell me.
Okay. So when Jesus came, he came to fulfill the genuine law of Moses.
Yep.
He came to teach the Jews and the Gentiles how to be obedient to the good and righteous law that Jehovah gave to Moses at Mount Horeb, Mount Sinai. The problem is the priesthood of Israel had become horribly corrupt. They had changed the law of God, turned it into a lie, they had elevated human traditions above the commandments of God, and they taught falsehood. One of the worst things they did was they perverted what it meant to observe the day of rest, because the Sabbath literally means the rest day. And the purpose of this day was to allow the average man and woman, to have a day of rest from their work. But in particular, it put the burden, the responsibility on people who had slaves, kings, landowners, merchants, to ensure that their staff or their slaves had one day to rest. Now, the issue is that the way the Sabbath is observed today by many different Jews and Christians is, I would still argue, quite wrong. Now, Jesus deliberately went out on the day of rest, and what did he do? He went out and he sought after people who needed care, who needed love, who needed attention, and he healed them. And this really annoyed the religious leaders. Why? Because this was their day off. And they were like, who is this upstart? This is meant to be our day when we get to sit back, smoke a bind, drink some wine, eat some nice food. And so when Jesus went out and healed people on the Sabbath, the religious leaders got really, really angry. They got angry with Jesus, they got angry with his disciples. And this is why. You see, Jesus...
Well, you're speaking like a Pharisee.
Yeah,
you really are.
Okay, I'm going to finish my point.
Okay,
so the point is that Jesus is the prophet, light but greater than Moses, who came to restore the authentic law of the one true God. And so he came to show the people how they should rightly observe the Sabbath. And that is why Jesus is the Lord of the Sabbath, because the Sabbath was made for man, not man for the Sabbath. Yet the Pharisees had turned the Sabbath into a horrible burden. And sadly today, for the Jewish people, the Sabbath is a burden. It's a complete nightmare the way they observe it.
So Jesus is just a man.
Absolutely. Do you know in John 8:44, when Jesus was being questioned, he literally says to the religious leaders and the people around him, I am a man who heard the truth from God. You are trying to kill me, a man who heard the truth from God. This is the words of Jesus.
We ain't denying that, but you are taking it out.
I'm not.
Of its
You
understanding.
brothers, how can I be taking out of context?
It's exactly what the
Jews want to stone him.
No. But that's because they are right on that point.
Jews want to stone Jesus because of blasphemy. Because he said, you be man, claim to be God.
But then he denied that, didn't he?
No, he didn't deny it.
He
He
did.
did.
No,
Pull it out. He didn't deny it.
I'll give you the exact context. He says
he is the Son of God.
You will be forever God. That's the point, brother. The Son of God is not God Almighty.
You will be forever hearing and never understanding. You will be forever seeing and never knowing.
What did Jesus mean in John 8:58?
Okay. When Jesus said, before Abraham was, I am, he is claiming to be...
What is that word?
Exodus 8.
In the Greek, it's ego eimi. It's just the way that you claim to be. I am a teacher. I am a dentist. I am John. Christians, sadly, have been misinformed that the statement in John 8:58 is Jesus claiming to be my term, brother. You must study. People have been told that in John 8:58 that Jesus is claiming to be the great I am of Exodus 3:14.
Yeah, because you say you have not even 50 years old.
Please just let me speak.
Who can you
Guys, I'm going to answer this gentleman's question. Just give me about a minute, please.
Who can you call rabbi? Who can he only be called rabbi?
I'm going to answer this gentleman's question. In Exodus 3:14, Moses asks the one true God, what is your name? And basically he declares Jehovah, And in the Hebrew, it says Ehyeh, Asher Ehyeh. That is the meaning of God's name. And he says Ego Eimi Ho On. Ego Eimi Ho On. It's really important that you remember these four words. The words Ego Eimi, translated into English, is I am. Ho On is who God is, the self-existent one, the being, It's mistranslated into English as I am who I am. But that is a false.
No one has ever seen God, but the one and only Son, who is himself God.
Okay, guys, hold on.
Who is himself
No, wait,
God.
you have
Who is himself God. And he's the closest relationship with the Father has made. No,
Jesus does
no
not
one has
say,
ever seen God.
I am.
but
No,
the one
I
and only
don't.
Son,
Stop,
who is
stop,
himself
brother.
God.
You have to
John
understand.
chapter 10, verse 31.
And that's just one.
The Bible interprets
Jesus is
Why
Lord.
did they
No.
stone
That's
you?
fake.
Why did they
So,
stone
when I said before,
That's
They
one.
blaspheme.
That's just one.
hear me. This
He
is because
claimed
honest.
to be God. A man
That
began
was
to be
John
God.
Christ
saying
is
that.
King.
That was
Jewish
John saying. That was
Jewish
John
didn't
saying.
mean that.
That was John saying that.
Christ is King. Yes, he is God. Yes, he is. You will be forever hearing.
Let's read it.
No,
Let's read it.
let's stay with the crowd.
I can't hear myself.
You are blinded, my brother. You are
To
blinded.
shut me up. I have just shown you. I don't need to go in the corner. I want you to hear
Shouting
it.
like a lunatic.
John 10:31. They tried to stone Jesus. Do you know why? Because he
No. Sure.
because he claimed
never claimed to be
to
God.
be God.
Should we have a conversation?
Shall we read God's word?
Okay. Why don't we do a time thing? You get to
This is
speak
not
for 2
even
minutes.
for debate. This is not even for
to do.
debate. What? It's not even for
It's
debate.
very much for debate, mate.
It is.
It's very much for debate. You said, where did Jesus say he was God? You said, where did Jesus say
Brother,
If you're not
brother, you
prepared
are
to debate
spiritually
scripture,
blinded, brother.
So you're
You are
afraid
no
of debating the
different
scriptures.
than a Muslim.
You are
You are no
afraid.
different,
You're
brother.
afraid of debating the scriptures.
I'm not afraid,
You don't
brother.
know your scriptures. You
Brother,
don't know
I
when
know
John
enough.
No, you don't.
Just like,
You think you
just
do.
like a person with Down syndrome is going to heaven before me. Yes. So I have logic and rationale, and yet a disabled person is going to heaven before me. Are you not understanding who God is?
Tried to stone Jesus because he claimed to be God.
Oh,
Show me.